this case, Pulcher reportedly tried to feed some sacred chickens, but unfortunately for him, they wouldn't eat a crumb. A very bad sign. Well, he said, if they won't eat, then let them drink, stupid chickens! We'll observe the weather instead. Gods, give me a sign. Ignore that. Okay, how about this? If I can get this piece of paper into that trash basket, we'll win. Okay, if I can stand here silently for 5 seconds and do nothing, we'll win.
Hello, what is up guys? We are back with another awesome video. We are going to finish up the first Punic War. It is basically a prequel because I already reacted to the second part of it, but whatever. Go check it out later after finishing this video, and please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it right now, man. Okay, let's just get straight into the video.
After the gigantic battle at Cape Ignomus, the Romans were now free to land on African soil, and so they did. The Carthaginians chose to focus on defending the city of Carthage itself, so the Romans immediately took the city of Aspis and were then free to raid and plunder the countryside. They took over 20,000 slaves and a ton of booty.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. Slavery was very... Wait, what? Slavery was a very major thing back in the day, right? Especially like with the Romans. If you look at the Roman Empire, a third of their entire population was in slavery. So it kind of goes to show, really, like, this was something that was very interconnected with Rome and, like, slavery, which, yeah, it kind of goes to show every country did this back in the day, which is really sad, man, but that's just how the norm was.
Some orders arrived from the Senate. Send home the booty. Oh, but I want to stay. No, Steve, not
that
you.
Dumb joke.
Treasure. Well, we are not watching any more of this filth.
Yay.
So the other consul left with the booty, leaving regular...
Yeah, this thing, too, I recognize. Like, Oversimplified is now educating the children. This guy's now kind of putting a major influence. I mean, like, does this video have, like, 15 million views? A lot of them are coming from children. So, yeah, Oversimplified, the type of content he's making really does have a giant influence. And, you know, good on him for all this. I hope he, you know, starts uploading a little quicker, though. You know, not really a year.
His forces on their own, and they began advancing towards Carthage. Along the way, according to the ancient writer Livy, they encountered a literal dragon. Now, Livy was a Roman historian, so his account may be slightly exaggerated, but this, I believe. So his account may be slightly exaggerated, but this...
Oh, wait.
May be slightly exaggerated, but...
Wait. It's also possibly a translation issue. Perhaps the Bangladesh dragon was just really a big snake. Then again, maybe it never happened at all. A lot of ancient history disputed like that. But they, hey, since you took the time to pause the video and read this, I just want to let you know you're real swell. And I'm sorry I told you to shut up in part 1. I didn't mean it. Aw, you know what? Yeah, it's fine, Oversimplified. I get ya. We all forgive you.
But this, I believe. As the Romans continued to plunder, the Carthaginian people flooded into the city. Now, not only was it in a major panic, but it was so crowded, the people began to starve. Don't panic, everyone! Look, I know you're all starving, but I still have food for me. So,
yeah, I still have food. Oh my, I hope he didn't actually act like that. I think people noticed that the really rich elites still had food, right? The politician people. And, you know, like, when they're all starving and you still have a lot of food, they don't care about what your position is or, you know, what your, you know, how much political influence you got. They're gonna be mad at you.
Whoa! You're wasting your tomatoes! And you idiots wonder why you're starving? Oh well, it's just more food for me! looking good for Carthage. They had
That's gotta
to
be
do
one of my
something
favorite clips
to stop the Romans
from
rampaging
this
throughout their
video.
land. So they decided, finally, it was time to put an end to it.
They have the home front advantage though, so if they use the environment correctly, they actually could win this.
And set up on rough, hilly terrain.
Most of their troops,
overlooking the
unfortunately,
Roman
though,
camp, and
were
they prepared
mercenaries.
for battle. Now, while the Carthaginians were the traditional masters of the sea, on land, they weren't always the brightest. Case in point, setting up in this position overlooking the Roman camp was just about the stupidest thing they could have done. Why? Well, there's something you gotta understand about Carthage. The Carthaginian land forces actually suffered from a multitude of different issues. First of all, since the Carthaginians were rich, they could afford to pay a huge number of foreign mercenaries to fight for them. These mercenaries actually made up the vast majority of Carthage's forces, and therefore, Carthage's land armies were a melting pot of many different cultures. This, however, meant that if a battle wasn't going their way, there could be loyalty issues. Man, I ain't getting paid enough for this. You Balearic slingers better not be thinking of running away. What did he say? I don't know, man. I don't speak Phoenician. Let's get out of here. Clearly, there were also language issues. The military generals tended to be Carthaginian, but they made a lot of strange decisions. For example, one of the most feared assets of the Carthaginian army were the war elephants. To a Roman soldier who had never even seen an elephant before, this was like fist fighting, a literal monster. Yet the Carthaginians continually kept placing the elephants in the rear, where they were no use. In a similar fashion, the neighboring region of Numidia provided Carthage with the most skilled cavalrymen in the world. But the Carthaginians often chose to fight on rough, uneven terrain, where horses and elephants were less effective. And so, in this case, when the Carthaginians again...
You can have all the money, all the resources, you can have all that stuff. However, if you're like horrible militarily, like, you're gonna lose. You're gonna make you know, like, you can have way more troops, way more resources, you know, but if you're making bad decisions, you're gonna end up like what Hannibal did to the Romans. Which, the Romans, as soon as they actually started thinking, and like, you know, or maybe not thinking, but started outdoing Hannibal. That's actually how they won. They had to outthink him. They had to, you know, like, play better. You gotta play better. You gotta kind of have that intelligence with you. If you're just, you know, not mindlessly placing troops, that's not really how you win wars. That's, you know, it's not even how you win any battle. Like, you lose everything. You know, you can lose a few battles but win the war, but that's really hard and much more risky to do. It's much better to win, like, battles so you have a better position.
Chose the rough terrain near the Roman camp. The Romans easily sent them packing. Wow, Regulus, we're mere miles from Carthage. You sure are amazing. Yes, Steve, I know. Steve, what's the matter? We've almost won. I just wish I could be as great as you, Regulus. And sending the Carthaginians packing. Everything was looking up for Regulus. A Roman victory seemed like it was only a matter of time. But then, Regulus realized something. He had been consul for almost a year, and his term was coming to an end. He knew that if his successor took over and he finished the job, then he would get the naked statues, not Regulus. And there was no way Regulus was going to allow that. So he jumped the gun. You there!
Why didn't they allow, like, you know, you're allowed to get reelected like once, or, you know, like, even, you know, like, more than one, like, more than twice, like, at the most 3 if you're only doing a 1-year term. Like, I feel like it would be more fair if you had at least at max 3 or 4 terms.
Carthaginian boy, I want you to deliver a message to your elders. I, Marcus Attilius Regulus, demand the total and unconditional surrender of Carthage. Unconditional surrender? Jeez, at least lay siege and starve us all to death first. Just deliver the message, you punk! He demands your total surrender. What? Jeez, at least lay siege and starve us all to death first. Hey, That's what I said. Well, boys, this Roman thinks we're out. But we're not out, are we, boys? No! We'll do what we always do in times like this. Hire somebody else to solve our problems for us.
Yep.
Karen, bring in the Spartan. Regulus's overly harsh demands had the unintended effect of reinvigorating Carthaginian resolve. They brought in a mercenary from the famed land of Sparta named Xanthippus to help dig them out of this situation. And we all know what Spartans are like.
Never seen that
Xanthippus
movie.
showed up
You know, I should watch that movie though. I should watch
and
it.
immediately took charge. He had to look around and said, "You idiots! Put the elephants in front of the army so they can smash into the Romans. And stop fighting on rough, uneven terrain. Find a big flat field so your superior cavalry can do their job. And what's this I hear about you giving a speech telling everyone they're gonna die? Hey, I was just telling the people the truth. You're a politician. Lie to the people."
That's where it came from. That's why politicians are like that.
So Xanthippus led out the newly reformed Carthaginian army to meet Regulus in the Battle of the Bagridas River. The elephants, now in the front, smashed into the Roman lines, causing disarray. The cavalry, with total freedom of movement, outflanked the Roman infantry. Thanks to this impressive Spartan, the battle was a total Carthaginian victory. And Xanthippus, for his stunning victory, was forced to flee Carthage because the leadership got jealous. Regulus,
This is the problem with Carthage right now. They are idiots. They don't really. Why? At the very least, use the same strategies you were doing to win. They don't do that. Oh, like these people, man.
the Roman consul, was captured during the battle.
I wonder why Carthage lost.
He was brought before the Carthaginian council, and they made a proposition. Well, Reggie, not looking so good anymore, is it? Looks like we beat you pretty bad, huh? Up yours, you Punic pansies! Now, Regulus, nobody likes a sore loser, do they? No. How about this? We're gonna send you back to Rome, and you convince the Roman Senate to surrender to us. If you fail, though, you gotta come back so we can torture you to death, okay? Okay. You promise? I promise. Hey, guys. Whoa, Regulus. We thought you got captured. I did, but they sent me back to convince you to surrender. Well, should we? Surrender? No, never surrender. Give them hell, boys. They're at the end of their rope. Anyway, I gotta go be tortured to death now. What? Yep, part of a deal I made. It's a long story. Hey, wait, Regulus. No, it's cool, guys. I promised. Regulus. This is ancient times. We massacre entire populations. We chop pets in half. You can break a promise. No, Tim. You never break a promise. That's too far. And so?
Like, if that actually happened where they sent him out, like, I feel like, I don't believe this. There was probably troops there to like, make sure. He just went on his own and expected him to come back to be tortured to death. Carthage, negative IQ levels. They deserve to lose at that point. Like, wow. Without Hannibal, man. Oh my. Wow. That really is shocking. Carthage at one point was this stupid and then had a guy who literally went all the way up to here, crossing the Alps. Like, that really is shocking, really. That really is shocking. And then the guy came back. I mean, like, you know, that massive respect for him. I'll give him that. Like, Regulus, I think was his name. Bro, I probably would break a promise. Unless, like, I made, like, an honor to God or something. I don't know. Like, he came back. Oh.
Regulus went back to Carthage and was tortured to death. And for keeping his promise, He was immortalized as the
Hey,
leading symbol of
he
Roman
got his
virtue.
statue.
Meanwhile,
Hey, good for him, right? He got a statue. I mean, like, I think it was about virtue, right? He got the statue representing virtue.
Africa, the remaining Roman survivors, still in Africa, were still in Africa, and they needed to be rescued. So the Romans sent their fleet to pick him up and bring him home. They successfully fended off a Carthaginian fleet, grabbed the survivors, and made their way to Sicily. A great success. But then, things took a turn for the worse. Sir? That cloud looks kind of angry. Fear not, coward. If we Romans can build a war fleet from scratch and defeat the Carthaginian Empire at their own game, why, then even Mother Nature herself will crumble before us. I laugh in the face of Mother Nature. Ha ha! See? Come on, guys. Laugh at Mother Nature with me. Ha ha! 284 ships, nearly 80% of the Roman fleet was destroyed. As many as 100,000 men drowned in a terrifying act of nature. Never before had Rome lost so many men in a single incident. 100,000 casualties for any other nation would be crippling. Any other nation would hastily sue for peace. Any other nation would spend decades trying to recover. But Rome was not just any other nation. Infamous for its unrelenting determination in the face of overwhelming odds, Rome said, well, I guess we'll just have to build another fleet. And they did. In just 3 months, they built 220 more ships. An astonishing feat. The Romans sent out their brand spanking new war fleet, and they got caught in another storm. This time, a whole nother fleet was lost. And still, the Romans did not give up. The Carthaginians couldn't believe it. Their enemy had just lost hundreds of thousands of men, had 2 fleets almost entirely destroyed, and they still wouldn't surrender. As one Roman poet put it, the victor is not victorious if the vanquished does not consider himself so. In typical Roman fashion, after a short break, they were once again building another fleet. However, for now, after all the disasters at sea, the focus began shifting back to the land campaign in Sicily. The Carthaginians, overconfident from recent successes, attempted to retake Panormus, but the Romans countered the terrifying war elephants by throwing stuff at them and scaring them away. Having stopped the Carthaginian advance, the road was now open to the final Carthaginian stronghold on the island, Lilybaeum. Lilybaeum was an extremely well-fortified city. In 250 BC, the Romans laid siege. The Carthaginian defense, however, was fierce, and skilled blockade runners kept the city supplied. Progress was so slow that the siege would last another 9 years. To make matters worse, the Carthaginians later sent possibly the greatest military general of the time, a man named Hamilcar Barca, to the island. He engaged in a skillful campaign of guerrilla warfare behind enemy lines, and for the remainder of the war, he was a major thorn in the Roman side. For now, with the deadlocked siege at Lilybaeum and the new Roman fleet at sea, things seemed to be at a standstill, and the Romans had to do something to break the deadlock. Thankfully, the Roman consul, Clodius Pulcher, had an idea. He tried to get things moving by attacking the Carthaginian fleet at Drepana. Now, before a battle, to predict if they would win, it was common for the Romans to look for signs from the gods. This could mean observing the weather or inspecting some cow livers. You know, typical religion stuff. In this case, Pulcher reportedly tried to feed some sacred chickens, but unfortunately for him, they wouldn't eat a crumb. A very bad sign. Well, he said, if they won't eat, then let them drink, stupid chickens! We'll observe the weather instead. Gods, give me a sign. Ignore that. Okay, how about this? If I can get this piece of paper into that trash basket, we'll win. Okay, if I can stand here silently for 5 seconds and do nothing, we'll win. Damn it! Pulcher chose to ignore the signs from the gods, and in the following battle, The superior Carthaginians tore them to shreds. It also didn't help that by now the Romans had removed the corvus to stabilize their ships. And without their secret weapon, it was a disaster, and Pulcher was disgraced. To make matters worse, the victorious Carthaginian fleet then went on to intercept a Roman supply fleet on its way to Lilybaeum. As they approached, however, they saw the signs of an incoming storm, so they took shelter. The Romans, on the other hand, said, "Onward, men! Set sail! We've got to deliver these supplies stat!" But sir, those clouds, don't you think we ought to have learned our lesson by now? Yes, Brian, we ought to have. But we haven't. Another fleet and 50,000 men lost in another storm. Disaster. Now, at this point, there still really isn't a clear winner. Sure, the Romans have captured most of Sicily and cornered the Carthaginian land forces at Lilybaeum, but the continued disasters at sea were critically depleting their resources, and without a strong fleet, Rome could not win. Meanwhile, Hamilcar Barca was still knocking about and creating even more problems. So, where do we go from here? How does this war finally end? By now, the two sides had been fighting for 23 years. They were exhausted. Their money, their resources, their strength were all utterly spent. The Carthaginians in particular were eager to see the war end so they could get back to trading and making money. So after the latest Roman disaster at sea, they said, "Look, there ain't no way in heck the Romans can come back again. They can't possibly afford to build another fleet. They're done. That's it. Recall the navy, repurpose them as merchant ships, and let's get back to making some money." Assuming the
Sorry guys, Bennett here. So the audio went wrong, unfortunately. So I'm just gonna give some commentary while this part is playing out. I was just saying how they kind of focused on, naval and money and kind of more their economic side more than their military side, because they kind of just gave up. They thought they were victorious and were very prideful. And I was just saying 2 points. One, pride comes before the fall, and two, if you are going to do that, at least use it for militarily winning. If you can be economically superior, that will give you a massive boost and advantage. So that's the only way you can really do it, and at least have some kind of naval defense. Don't be stupid, and don't have such pride and ignorance around you. And yeah, that was kind of it. Sorry about the audio fails. I don't know what's going on with it.
Romans would soon make peace, an anti-war faction within the government recalled a large portion of the navy, leaving Hamilcar on his own. The victors appeared to be declaring themselves victorious. Meanwhile, the vanquished were getting ready for round 5. The Romans built another fleet, this time heavily relying on patriotic donations from the upper classes to afford it. And once again, they put to sea. Sir? The Romans have built another fleet. Oh, for goodness sake, Clarence, can't you see I'm busy rolling around in this pile of money? But sir, I don't care anymore, Clarence. I just don't care. The Carthaginian politicians made a fairly lackluster final effort with a poorly built fleet to supply their forces in Sicily. But when the brand new Roman fleet caught them at the Battle of the Aegates, even without their signature corvus, they dealt them the final blow. And that was that. 23 years of war. Neither side could afford to keep fighting, but the Romans showed that they intended to anyway. The Carthaginians had no choice but to throw in the towel. The war had been long and hard for both sides, but in the end, it was Roman determination that won the fight.
Rome just didn't give up. You can't just give up. You gotta keep on pushing all the way forth.
Entire war trying to find a way to deliver the knockout blow.
And they're very innovative too.
And engage in naval combat. They developed ingenious new ways of waging war. They attempted an invasion of the Carthaginian heartland, and whenever disaster struck them, they always came back again and again.
Yeah, they were also, as Oversimplified said, aggressive go-getters.
Carthaginians, on the other hand, spent the entire war watching whatever Rome did and then figuring out how to respond. They were much more passive, and so it's no wonder then that when both sides were close to collapse, Rome was the one who figured out how to go that little bit further. In 241 BC, the Carthaginian politician sent word to Hamilcar Barca that he was on his own and could choose to make peace with the Romans if he wished. Hamilcar was stunned. He felt betrayed by the politicians. Some sources say he refused to even negotiate. Nevertheless, terms had to be drawn up.
Yep.
Well, Hammy, I'm glad you Carthaginians have
Hammy.
finally come to your senses and recognized who the true winner is. How many fleets did you lose? Okay, here are our terms. You leave Sicily to us and return all of our prisoners. You're not allowed to make war against Syracuse or her allies, and you have to pay us 2,200 talents of silver over the next 20 years. What's a talent of silver? Well, to put it in perspective, in the year 2022, that'll be worth around, let's say, 40 million US dollars. Ay, caramba!
I mean,
That will cripple us.
for a whole country, that's probably not really a lot, but I guess for the time, it probably was a very big amount.
Wow, we got a real smart guy over here. Yeah, that's kind of the point, you dingus. Ugh, I guess I have no choice.
And inflation's probably gonna be like 50 million by the end of 2024.
I accept. Great. Oh, by the way, we changed our minds. You actually have to pay us 3,200 talents of silver over 10 years.
Uh-oh, that's a
for
lot.
accepting too.
Now that one,
Hey,
oh, that's gonna be a lot more.
He didn't let me say uncool. The treaty was extremely punishing, and by switching up the terms at the last minute, they enraged the Carthaginians.
Treaty, I wouldn't recommend like ending a war with like a really crippling treaty. If I won a war against an enemy, I'd rather kind of do a lighter treaty, not to over cripple them too much, because if you absolutely destroy your enemy, they have so many reasons to fight back and come at you because they have nothing to lose anymore. If you just take a good chunk, they might not be willing to go to war again. They'll still have stuff they're more risking about, right?
The longest and deadliest wars at the time was finally over. The Romans had won.
Casualties unknown,
They achieved their
but
aim
definitely
of
I
gaining
think
Sicily.
might hit the
Even
million.
though it wasn't part of the peace deal,
Could hit a
they
million.
took advantage of a weakened Carthage and grabbed Corsica and Sardinia as well. Roman expansion beyond the Italian peninsula had just
Imagine
begun.
that. That was a power grab because now they have access to go even farther west and have control over the southern part of the Mediterranean.
The Romans hoped that now the Carthaginians would forever be under their thumb. Unfortunately, the harsh terms they placed on the Carthaginians at the end of the war left a growing anger, one that would come back to haunt them. One day, Carthage will have its revenge. That's nice, dear. I'm serious, woman. Maybe not in my lifetime, but perhaps in his, my beautiful son. You are born
Bro, this
into
kid
a
destroys
momentous
everything.
destiny.
He's so powerful,
Shall
bro.
be Rome's greatest
You'll
enemy.
see.
You'll
If you
tear
haven't
Rome
seen it
limb
yet.
from limb. You'll burn their pathetic city into the ground. You'll slaughter their people, men, women, and children. My child,
You are vengeance.
Telling our baby he's vengeance, but he is, Barbara. He's
You are
vengeance.
vengeance.
That may be so someday, but for now, our son has a name, and you should call him that instead. His name
Is Hannibal. Coming soon, yeah. 1 year is very soon. Yeah, looking back at it. Well, anyways, that's the end of this video. I'm exhausted. But hey, I'm glad if you guys enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. Any comments, questions, or concerns, tell me down below. And yeah, I will see you soon. Bennett, out.